welcome to Living Proof. This morning I am speaking to Will Jackson, who is a songwriter for Universal Records, and he's joining me from London today. Will's collaborated with a host of artists in the global music scene, CeeLo Green anyone, Pixie Lott anyone, Cobra Starship for example, so it's fair to say when it comes to being a music industry pro, Will is it. Welcome to Living Proof, Will.
Thank you very much. Wow, how embarrassing.
Great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Good to be here. Woo-hoo.
Cool. Thank you. As you know, Will, the aim of Living Proof is about understanding real people's experiences and people that are doing what they want to do, whether that's following a passion or taking a new route. We're really interested in kind of the process of doing what you want to do so that we can understand it better and demystify it and actually really bring to life that there are lots of different ways to get where you want to be. So here's maybe a take on yours. With this in mind, Will, can you let us into your world a little bit? And based on the fact of you're a songwriter for Universal, which on its own is pretty cool, what's kind of a typical day in the life for you?
Funny you should ask. I'd say, well, for me, I write songs for other people. This is my main job. So I don't write for myself. Yeah. I write pop songs and pitch them to other people. So I need to be kind of teamed up. I'm what they call a top liner. Mm-hmm. So I write the melody and lyrics and kind of everything that you'd think you'd sort of play on a guitar of a song.
Yeah.
But these songs have to be submitted as finished demos, as finished records, so that whoever makes the decisions can decide if they want to put their artist on it.
Yeah.
So I get paired up with people who can make those records sound like finished records.
Cool.
So my job is to go in on a daily basis with a different person, and my manager will decide who I go in with, and I write a song usually with them, and to varying degrees, and then they finish it off and make it all good. Then I sing it, and then I split.
Yeah. And then the sales come in, and the rest is history, right?
And I get gold
that
tea.
Easy.
Yeah.
So thinking kind of more broadly, why do you do what you do, Will?
Yeah, good question. Extremely broad question. I think the reason I do it is, the obvious answer is that I enjoy music. I've always loved making music. And just obvious things like I prefer being out of the office. I don't think it's difficult. A lot of creative people say, "Oh, just because I could never do anything else," and I find it, "Oh, how do people do it?" And it's just so patronising. But I'm sure I could. But the honest answer is that I just always really loved the idea of doing music, and performance wasn't quite as suited to me as it is for some superstars. So I took the next best option.
Cool.
Songwriter.
Fantastic. And thinking about kind of obviously living and working in the music industry and being driven by that passion for music, how did you know that it was truly what you wanted to do, that you wanted to follow this calling of music?
I think, there's never any specific moment. For me, there's never any specific one moment where you go, "Oh God," sort of eureka moment, like, this is for me, and gosh, how could I ever do anything else? For me, it was more like a bunch of trigger points as you go along, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You're always looking for the sort of not so much reinforcement, perhaps reinforcement, but those points where you get just indication signals that you're kind of following the right spots as you go, like for me, it was, when I was in a band when I was sort of 14, 15, you'd do a gig and all your mates would go, "Oh, wow, it was like a real song." And you'd you'd go, "Oh, right, okay, right, so it's like a real song, okay." And then you carry on a bit more, and you know what I mean? It's about getting those kind of, those sort of pushes as you go. So, I wouldn't say it was one moment where I thought, right, this is my calling. Just lots of little points that push you along to where you end up, and it's important to keep getting those, or you can quite quickly lose momentum. But
completely,
if you're lucky, with a little bit of self-belief as well, which keeps you going to the dry bits, you also need those things from other people that give you the indications.
Yeah.
This is my thoughts.
No, absolutely. When it comes to, like you say, those points, those trigger points, when you kind of had a trigger point or something happened that kept up momentum, how did that kind of feel for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's good, isn't it? Because it's when you're following anything, I think, that isn't necessarily uh, totally on the beaten track.
Yeah.
There's a pretty hefty element of uh, sort of a sense of kind of wandering aimlessly for a period of time. Not aimlessly, but not knowing whether you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So there's a sort of it's important, as I say, to have those kind of validating. I guess it's a validating thing.
Yeah, I got you.
It gives you that indication that perhaps you're not just bumping into trees.
I like that.
Yeah.
When it comes to kind of like you mentioned like there about how it can sometimes feel like you're wandering, there's a degree of uncertainty there. Kind of what are some of maybe the doubts that have gone through your mind in the past, or maybe that still go through your mind today actually?
Well, the doubts, the major doubts, kind of come just off the top of my head. I'd say come from the just the passing of time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 30 now, so ever since I was about 22, maybe, which sounds ridiculous looking back, but obviously at the time it didn't. When I was sort of 22, 23, I started thinking, oh no, this is it. I'm 23. I can't turn back now. Can't change my ideas. And so then you think, oh no, crikey, you definitely could have done. But yeah, I guess the major doubt is that the more you invest, the longer you stick with something, obviously the further down the path you come. So that's, I mean, in answer, I guess I'd say that that's the major thing that over the years has sort of been like, okay, right, okay, further in now. Okay, this really, really, really better work.
Got you. What's that kind of taught you, Will?
Thanks.
I told you we'd go deep.
What's it taught me? What do you mean in terms of?
Well, in terms of like knowing to keep going, putting one step in front of the other, and realizing that looking back, your perspectives are different now. How's the process of following these trigger points and having a degree of patience and trust in another one will come? What's that kind of taught you about maybe what to expect, or what this whole experience of following a career in such a competitive and creative industry has been like?
Yeah, I think you need to. Oh God, it's difficult because it does sound a bit like a sort of bit sanctimonious perhaps, but it's about basically having the right support, and obviously you can't do anything without. You can do something. You can do something if you're a total lone soldier, but I definitely had lots of support in terms of just love and people being realistic to me. Mm-hmm. But you also, I suspect, I haven't found the winning combo. You know, I'm not a millionaire, but the thing that kept me going is that support. The second thing, I think you have to have a really healthy dose of realism.
Yeah.
Do you not? Where, you know, there's this awful thing where you watch the X Factor or whatever, and you see 10,000 people standing in a queue, and 9,500 of them could just go home, and that sounds awful, but it's true. And I think this whole sort of following a star thing, as uninspiring a thing as it may be to say, I think you have to be quite cold with yourself in terms of. And it doesn't have to just be constantly saying, "Oh, well, actually, you know, maybe I'm rubbish, maybe I'm no good," because that's pointless negativity. But if you can keep along the checkpoints, keep being realistic about, you know what, maybe that bit isn't for me, and you know, maybe I should go slightly off over here because I seem to be better at that, you know. And it's I've slightly forgotten the question, but
no, completely. We were talking about kind of like. What you need and what you've learned, and what I'm hearing there, we talked about realism there, and what I'm hearing is that you have, even though you're kind of 8 years in, and like you said, this really better work. There's an element of always reading every day in every situation anew, afresh there, and not taking it for granted, and thinking that there is just one way to do it.
Exactly.
And I think that's exactly what I think people that are watching this video will be interested in as well, because you mentioned the X Factor, and there's an impression that if you want to get in the music industry, get in a queue, sing for a couple of people, and off you go. You'll be on telly at Christmas. Isn't that nice?
you deserve it as well. And I just think, I mean, it's up to people to prove that they deserve it.
Yeah,
completely. And sometimes things just aren't for you. Like I tried to be in a band for years and years and years, but and I was good. I was perfectly good. But then I guess the good thing about rising up in a thing that you're constantly in a very competitive field is there seem to be these sort of levels of extra sort of pools that you get into where you'll be really, really good in your pool, and then you sort of have a process of a couple of months where you think, crikey, oh God, I met this guy, and turns out I'm rubbish for this pool, and that's always actually really good.
Swim to the side and off out you get.
That's right.
Bomb into another one.
Yeah, but you've moved up and you've started to judge yourself by that level, and it's important to keep judging yourself by working with people who are better than you and all that.
Yeah, but I guess what that also allows is you to keep reflecting and understanding rather than just keeping going at it.
Yeah.
And throwing energy and your time and your passion at things, which ultimately feel like they're kind of coming back at you rather than letting you kind of work with that. Do you kind of see a lot of that around you sometimes?
What, people just bloody-mindedly going for it? Yeah. I guess I do, But I guess I did back in the day slightly more. There's more of that in the performing field.
Yeah.
I think in the writing for other people field, you very quickly find that you don't earn any money if you keep doing the same things.
Yeah, got you.
Doing the same thing, expecting to get what you always got. You should expect to get what you always got.
Exactly.
Good songwriter. My words are not working. That's me.
So thinking about, obviously, kind of, you're constantly learning. There's still levels of uncertainty, but you're getting a feel for. What I'm getting from this, you're getting a feel for if you read a situation and base that, like, also take into account your experience, you're going to make some informed choices. When you think about kind of how far you've come and how kind of things are going now, thinking about today, what are those kind of those good moments or those kind of flickers of excitement that kind of really kind of keep you going, whether that's at a trigger point or before or after or just any time?
Specifically with my job?
Yeah.
I'd say that, well, for me, obviously, the specifics of it would be getting a song recorded by somebody who I really respect.
Yeah.
Which is really good. Or even if I don't really respect them these days, as long as they record it. But no, it's great to get that, manager calls you and tells you some great news about somebody liking a song or blah, blah, blah. Or I do a bit of travelling, getting away is really fun. Especially if you're not, especially if it's on business, and that's always a bit of a rush. Just things like that, really. Or doing a great song, I guess, at the end of the day, working with somebody who super duper inspires you, like more and more I get to work with artists, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
And then I, feel terribly inadequate, but we have these days where I go, while I'm sitting there at the piano, why don't you try this? What, like this? Wow, yes, like that, exactly.
Let's keep doing that.
Sing the alphabet? Yes, perfect. Yeah, so that's always good.
No, got you. I can imagine those kind of unexpected moments when, like, it all comes together.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really feel like yourself feel kind of like a great energy that will kind of stay with you. I mean, we've joked about this, haven't we? Kind of before that we did the interview, Will, about, oh God, I don't want to sound like I'm kind of disappearing up my own arse and stuff. And I said that's absolutely not what the intention is. In your own words, how does it, with the ups and the downs, the uncertainties there are, but also kind of thinking about those moments of electricity when something amazing happens and a song takes shape and starts to grow wings and such. Fly, exactly, thank you. Continue the metaphor. How does it kind of make you feel ultimately to be on this path, knowing that you still don't know what's around the corner, but you're following where you want to go?
Again, honest answer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of it's definitely it's definitely a feeling of not being out of the woods. Yeah, I think it's about perseverance and having a sort of consistent, following a consistent thread.
Yeah.
But as you say, the question being, what does it feel like? I think it's incredibly gratifying on a daily basis. You know, being able to get up, as people say, and do what you love, which is, and you never really forget how lucky that is.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's the pretty healthy sort of sized spectre, a shadow of better not screw this up. It's definitely
keep
half
yourself
and
on point there. Got you.
I went around the houses there, but it's just difficult to it's difficult to express it because it is so kind of yay and
yeah, it's a constant cocktail of emotions, I guess, kind of going on, trying to kind of keep it to a simmer and not a bubble.
Exactly, and especially if you're kind of vaguely realistic about the whole thing.
Yeah, and thinking about kind of other people out there, and based on your experience, like, what do you think is the biggest myth that stops people from ultimately following what they want to do? Whether that's make more cupcakes in their kitchen and sell them at the weekend, or make a transition.
I'd say, I have to say, it sounds a bit sort of slightly nerdy thing to say, but I suspect it's about routine and the sort of trapping, the sort of inertia of this sort of daily routine. It's very difficult to break out of. I mean, it applies less to my job and more to anything. You know, it's like trying to keep New Year's resolutions, or think to yourself, I'm definitely going to go for a run every Tuesday and Thursday morning. You know, anything basically like that, like you said, cupcakes or whatever. Yeah, honest answer, I'd say, having thought about it a bit, is almost certainly habits that you get into while they're kind of bobbing along, incredibly difficult to break, are they not?
Completely. When you do kind of get moments of thinking, oh, this is kind of feeling like it's not right, or when's the next thing going to happen, or where should I go now? What sort of things do you kind of tell yourself, or what kind of goes through your mind that you kind of think, it's all right, just keep going forward?
I think the things we were talking about from before, about how you've invested a lot in it.
Yeah.
There's an element of you really can't turn back.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could technically, but you know, you backed yourself so far.
Yeah.
You have to keep on going, but also it's about the good things that happen, I suppose, while you're going along. Those sort of things that just give you a little shove, and looking for them as well, because sometimes it can be really crap. I mean, it's nothing like a sort of 15-hour shift in intensive care unit or something. I'm sure, but you know, relatively speaking, sometimes it can be a couple of months without anything particularly to push you along. But you have to look for the light spots.
I love what you said there about backing yourself, because it's so funny, isn't it? How I'm sure there'll be people and you'll be in the pub and they'll be saying, oh, I'm not sure, and you'll be like, no, come on, it'll be fine, and you're encouraging them. But sometimes we just don't do that for ourselves, and I think that's a really powerful expression use that of backing yourself, because what you're not saying is sell the house, sell the kids, and actually sell the dog too, but it's kind of, why don't we give ourselves a little bit of the credit we might give someone we just met in the pub to make them feel better? You know, there's a lot to that. We're not that terribly nice to ourselves sometimes. And I think that is a gear shift that absolutely needs to change. Don't we all deserve just to be a little bit happier if we could?
Yeah. But the thing is, I don't think it's necessarily, and I'm sure this isn't what you're saying, but I don't think it's necessarily about being really nice to yourself and telling yourself that you're amazing. It's more about, like, if you can be as realistic as possible with yourself and still carry on doing it, then I'm just trying to get the right words. When I pause, it sounds like I'm getting emotional.
It's totally fine.
No, but if you can still carry on doing it, then I think the backing yourself is more about knowing that you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean by that? It's like
whatever the result.
If you think, well, I'm if you get to the stage where you feel like you've got a pretty solid analysis of whether you're good enough to do it, and you don't really need to back yourself, because you can say, well, you can fall back on knowing that you should keep going.
Yeah, completely. And I know what you mean. It's almost like I don't know the result, but I know I can try.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah.
You know, and whatever trying means for that person. No, absolutely. I really, really like that idea of backing. So, thinking of the future, Will, what would you say, you know, it's now time to kind of create or achieve for yourself?
I'd say, obviously, well, not obviously, but as we've discussed before, I do a lot of my work in Asia. A lot of my songs get taken in Asia and a little bit in Europe. But obviously, America's a big deal for me personally. So I've been out a couple of times on a couple of trips to LA and things like that. So yeah, the next frontier for me is probably America.
Breaking a new continent. I love that.
That's right.
And then the final question we ask all the guests on Living Proof, Will, is what's it kind of now time to do?
I mean, I guess, yeah, personally speaking, I'd say, I think when you're self-employed, when you're sort of steering your own ship, you have sort of list of to-do things, otherwise known as a to-do list. To do things that you can all get a bit scattergun, sort of. There can be quite a sort of lack of order in the way I get things done. So I've got to do that now. So it would be good. Yeah, personally speaking, it would be good to impose a bit more structure, perhaps.
Get a bit more organised.
And things like that.
Love that.
More organised.
Head to America with your to-do list, Will. I love that.
I will. Wave it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been so cool to kind of get your perspectives and understand a bit more about you and what you've been doing. I think from some of the things you've been saying today, being kind of realistic about what it's going to take and what is possible and backing yourself are two of the key takeouts that I've found really interesting to hear from your perspective today. So thank you so much for sharing those, Will. All the very best in the future. We will be watching Rolling Stone for your songs in the charts in America for sure. And I just wish you all the best, mate. And thanks again for taking part in Living Proof. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. See ya.